Just want to welcome everybody that's on the call tonight. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. And I'm excited actually to get to introduce you to one of my good friends. So Robert and I started working with Take Shape for Life about 6 years ago, almost 7. I was able to implement the program into my practice and find that immediately, like literally within 30 days, I was having more predictable, consistent results than I had had in about 9 years of private practice, agonizing over writing out templates for what people ought to do with their lives and telling them how to do it. And at the time that we both started working with Take Shape for Life, we started to learn about the incredible sort of like personal development side of this program. Dr. Anderson, who started Take Shape for Life, has set up a system where there's really a very nurturing environment for us as coaches to grow as people. And at that point in time, we were just eating it up in trying to learn how to be better health coaches, how to be better people. And we got to meet JC at that point. So Dr. JC Doornick is our guest tonight. We met him about 6 years ago. And what was really fun is that we've watched each other grow. And during that time frame, JC has done some incredible things along the way. One of the things I didn't know about him at that time, I knew he was a chiropractor, but I didn't know some of his other passions. And JC started a group called Chiromission, which is kind of like Doctors Without Borders for chiropractors, and has taken many a trip to Haiti and other countries where he's been working with other chiropractors to bring humanitarian aid and comfort to people in places around the world that wouldn't have access. So JC has had a passion for that work and done that extensively. He was honored as Philanthropist of the Year and as a chiropractor, and has also, within the business that we work with him in, developed what we call a presidential business, which is really the highest level of leadership in the company that you can provide. JC works with and has created educational plans and support systems and works with a whole group of people that have really transformed not only their own lives, but then shared that with other people. So I'm excited to welcome you, JC. Thank you for being with us. And thank you to each one of you for being on the call. I'm going to turn it over to you, JC, and then we'll converse as we need to as you go.
Thanks so much. And I just want to bounce the ball back to you too, to Robert and Jeralyn. You just reminded me that we've known each other for 6 years. I can't believe that. But I have a big amount of respect for both of you as people and all the people that you've helped. And, it was 9 years ago that I wasn't really friends with a lot of medical doctors, to be honest with you, because, I did something different. It's just such a joy and pleasure to be involved in something where, everybody puts their concepts aside for the greater good. And I have so much respect for you guys, and you've built such a huge business and helping so many people. And Jeralyn and I got to have a real scary moment and be on stage in front of over 4,000 people just recently, and she was amazing. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to create a little screen share here. I created a little presentation for all of you, just so you can have a visual aid. My goal is I want to do this in 15, 20 minutes, because I think the fortune is really in the questions. One of the things that I always found gave me success in practice was trying to figure out what people wanted. But when I was a chiropractor, I didn't really have many options outside of chiropractic. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story quickly. So here's some pictures of JC, a little bit of my transitional process. I've had an amazing experience. I always wanted to be a chiropractor, and like she said, I started an organization called Chiromission with a friend of mine, and I think we've easily had thousands of chiropractors come on that trip. Jeralyn, you might want to, or Robert, you might want to mute everybody, just because they might not know how to do it. And then if I get muted, I'll unmute myself. But basically what you're seeing here is on the top left, you see me, that's my before picture. And I was a health conscious kid. I was brought up in a very health conscious family. My parents are both professional level athletes. And, I pretty much grew out of a garden, and chiropractic and natural healthcare was just the way we were brought up. I'm not here to talk about that, but I know that chiropractors come from all walks of life, and there's different ways people practice. I came from the, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. We didn't take any medication, and we just always, I remember when I'd get sick, we would just get adjusted, drink a glass of water, and get a hug, and that's how we got through things. So that's the world I came from. But as you can see, I kind of went astray in that picture. That's me in May 2007 on a beautiful sunny day when I started swimming with my shirt on. And the reason why I got out of control is not because I didn't know what to eat. It's because my life changed. I was working all the time. I had a high volume practice, which, it was wonderful. It was what I always wanted as a chiropractor. But at the same time, I didn't really have a life outside of that. And basically what this program did was help me lose weight. You can see the first picture is me after I lost 55 pounds. We're always supposed to say results, not typical. And then you can see when I embraced health. And health is different for everybody. Everybody has different goals. I just said, hey, I'm losing weight. Maybe I can get in shape. But it really transformed my life. The first thing I noticed is that the reason why I was overweight is because I was depressed, because I never saw my kids. I worked all the time. I was making actually great money, as a high volume practitioner, but at what cost? I'd come home and just find out that my kids had walked that day or something like that. And it was really tough. So I didn't become a drug addict or an alcoholic, but I started to eat spaghetti sandwiches and things like that. So that's how I gained my weight. And, I've always had a passion for a natural approach to health. And I always just had that common knowledge since birth. If you have a bag of rocks on your shoulders and you drop it, you'll walk better. So the approach of chiropractic was perfect for me, that natural approach. And I still, to this day, I still see patients a little bit different. Maybe we'll talk about that later, but I do it because I love it, and but it's not about the money anymore. So that little picture top right is really important to me because I never used to spend time with my kids, and that's me not only healthy, but as living out one of my top 5 all-time life goals, which was to be the head coach of my kids' football team. And when you're working all the time, you miss all that stuff. And I just remember that day, I was a really special day because my son actually was scared. He didn't want to play and stuff like that. And I was there for him on the sideline. So that means a lot to me because that's what I really want in life. Okay. So that's my team picture. I always boast about that. I'm real proud of him. That's number 55 is my kid, by the way. So here's a really cool slide that I found. And Jeralyn, I don't think you've ever seen this, but chiropractors all know this slide. We always refer in chiropractic to 3 types of care, right? There's 3 phases of care. And the reason why I want to show you this, just so as a chiropractor, you can get into the idea that weight loss and creating health is perfectly aligned with our philosophy in chiropractic. So think about it. Regardless if you're a back pain doctor or like myself, a subluxation-based holistic kind of a guy, this is pretty much what all chiropractors do. People come in some sort of acute, intensive situation, and what we're supposed to do is address that, And what we want to do in chiropractic is then move them into what we call the corrective phase, where we actually work on correcting their behaviors. And then once we do that, we can actually teach them about lifetime wellness. So think about the overlaying analogy of somebody that walks in your office that is overweight, right? And they want to lose weight. Because sometimes we have a tendency to say, I know you want to lose weight, but you should eat Atlantic salmon and kale and meditate, right? But the truth is that they're in an acute situation. And in fact, as a chiropractor, most of what you're treating or caring for in your office is downstream. Yes, sometimes injuries, but most is downstream from stress, poor eating habits, poor nutrition, and obesity. It's the mother and father of all disease. So if you're a chiropractor and you understand the concept of adjusting people to remove interference and restore function, well, think about what happens when somebody loses 50 pounds. I lost 70 pounds 9 years ago. So if my goal as a chiropractor is to get them out of pain, right, or make them feel better and then make correction, It's the same thing we do in Take Shape for Life. People come in, we put them on a program I'll talk briefly about, and then after they start to lose weight, something changes in their mind. They start to create a desire and passion for, not for weight loss, but for health, which is a wonderful opportunity for chiropractors to talk about corrective behaviors. We call it the habits of health. And then we teach them how to not just keep the weight off, but move on to ultra health. Right. So I loved that when I put this in my office, and maybe we'll get to that a little bit later. It was just so easy. I was already talking about this, so it just overlaid. So here's some advantages. I just created this today, and I was thinking about it. You know, this is not a talk that I do every night, but here's some of the advantage about Take Shape for Life before I even explain it. You already talk about this stuff every day. You're already talking about health and nutrition. You're already talking about the fact that, hey, Mary, if you lost 50 pounds, that would sure help with your back pain or holding the adjustments that I give you. And also, when people are actually, and look, we have all kinds of bells and whistles in chiropractic offices, vitamin supplies and all that stuff, which is a real pain in the you-know-what to carry stuff. You won't do that with this. But none of it really works too well, and it's kind of just focused on this little group of highly motivated people. But when I started doing this, I started getting better results, meaning, you know, I would give an adjustment and it would hold. Before, I remember this. I would adjust somebody and watch them walk out to their car, and I had this unsettling feeling because I saw that they were overweight or obese, and I said, you know, if I'm telling the truth, they should turn around and come right back, because that negative effect was going to throw them right out of whack. Some other things just to bring up. I know we're going to have questions later. There's no inventory or overhead in this, right? Chiropractors are very, very comfortable with the idea of coaching because we coach our clients and we get coached, practice consulting and things. That's all we're doing as Take Shape for Life health coaches. I call myself a health and lifestyle coach. We're not selling anything. There's no product. We just get paid for helping people just like we do in practice. So once again, we're already doing this, just not getting results in that arena. Referrals. Think about this. I always joke. I mean, of course, I consider myself the greatest chiropractor in the world, right? So, but I've never seen a patient get one of my miraculous adjustments and walk out into the reception area and have someone say, "Oh my God, Robert, you look amazing. What happened to you?" You know, I said, "Well, I just got adjusted." So look, chiropractic is one of the most important things in the world. And, you know, I was brought up that way. My parents were, my children, and I hold it very, very high. But what I'm saying is when people lose weight, their skin color changes and they look younger, they don't have to talk about this. People come up and demand to know what it is. They say, "What happened to you?" And they say, "I want to do it," without even knowing. So referrals come in, which is great. Residual income is really nice, free from managed care. You know, I stopped taking insurance, 7 years ago as a result of this new income that I had. And I said, forget it. I'm not playing the game anymore. And that was really, really nice. But what residual income means, this is a big thing, because all chiropractors know, and I'm sure physicians know this too, that if we go away for a week, we come back, things are different. Even if you have an associate doctor, it's not you. So residual income means, you know, if you're making money and you can go away, you know, and visit your family and you come back and it's the same or more, that's what residual income is. We'll talk a little bit about that. And also serve more people without increased hours. You know, by putting this in my office, I like to say before I had a door that was open about this big because it was open to about 5% of the population because I was only offering people help in the chiropractic realm. But I noticed when I started offering weight loss and results-driven, you know, creating health in my practice, all of a sudden my door was wide open. And, you know, what's that analogy of having a line outside your door? Well, listen, all of a sudden my talks that I was doing went from having 5 people there to talk about stress to 40 people. So it was a wonderful, wonderful shift. I want to share this just quickly because I think chiropractors will appreciate this because we're not into quick fixes. You know, even though that's what most people are looking for, whether it's back pain or weight loss, the reality is that most people have, you know, everybody needs these 3 things. Everybody is praying at night for a change in their physical, mental, or financial health. Everybody. In fact, I challenge anybody to tell me the thing that they need. If it's outside of these three realms, I'll give you $100. It's in there, right? I mean, spiritual, I'll read all the things that are in there. But what happens is the one that we go after the most is the one that's most important. So that's why weight loss, the industry of weight loss is so big. It's because people can see it, right? Just like your teeth, you can see it in the mirror. So a lot of people want to lose weight. But why are people so obese? Well, because they're probably emotional eaters, right? Or they don't have time or money to eat healthy. So that falls into healthy finances, right? Their career's out of whack. So think about my story. You know, if you're working all the time, I don't care how much money or how little money you're making, that's causing a very, very big deficit and stress in your life, which is going to be causing you to react to that. And how do you react? I mean, we escape, right? So healthy body, healthy mind, and healthy finances are things that need to be talked about. I never used to talk about these things. I remember I used to look at somebody in my chiropractic office and say, well, what do you think caused it? And I remember they would tell me, well, I just picked up my remote control and my back went out, right? Or I just picked up this pen. And, you know, for chiropractors, we know that people can throw their backs down and have disc injuries and stuff. But if you take a step back and you say, but what was going on? And you have the ability to address their eating and their nutrition. And, you know, I mean, most of these people are just waiting for these things to happen. So once I started doing Take Shape for Life, not only could I talk about these things, but I actually had the method of actually helping people in all these realms. And that was a big shift for me because before, I mean, I remember those days. I mean, I've seen miracles happen in my office from chiropractic, but I remember a lot of people needed something else that I couldn't give them, and that was frustrating to me. So the key elements of a healthy body, and I put this here, and I added one on the bottom, Jeralyn. You know, I don't know what Dr. A will say this, but this needs to be in the next book. The key elements to a healthy body, yes, healthy weight. Remember, that's what people notice first. But also, there's healthy eating. Dieters don't think about that, but we teach them that. Healthy motion, right? Healthy sleep, stress reduction, and also a healthy nervous system. The reason why I put that there is here's what happens, folks. Remember, only 5% maybe of your community, if you're a high volume practitioner, are coming in your office. So what's everybody else doing? They're doing quick fix stuff, right? And if you don't have quick fix stuff in your office, they're doing it. But here's what happens. When somebody loses weight, they create a desire for more. They start talking about healthy eating, and they notice on our program they're learning how to eat, and they're learning how to have a macronutrient footprint, which prompts them to maybe want to focus on other things like exercise, but doing it not to lose weight, doing it because they're getting excited and creating a desire for health. Remember, if you're a chiropractor, there's a reason why you became one. Something happened that made you decide to make a living and a life out of something that was proactive about health. We got to remember when people first come into our lives, they don't think that way. That's why they want the quick fix. But when they start this journey, it starts with weight, eating, motion, sleep, stress reduction. And the reason why I put healthy nervous system is here's what's amazing. And this is what I noticed in my practice. All I was ever trying to do was get new patients in my office. That was my business, right? And then I would do a good job of caring for them. And I tried to, get referrals, but it was all about that. So the challenge was I had to explain to people how chiropractic could help them, maybe outside of back pain and things like that. Watch what happens when somebody gets excited about health. They start coming in and they start asking you, and you might just be coaching them on the program or supporting them. They start saying things like, what else should I do? Right? And I say, well, maybe you should buy some sneakers now. And what happens is that these people are just primed and ready to find out about all sorts of mechanisms of gaining health because they're excited about it. So my new patients, before I knew I was going to do well at this, because I didn't believe it in the beginning, my new patients started to soar. In fact, it was a problem because that made me work even harder, which I didn't want to do. See, the way my business worked in chiropractic is when my volume went up and I made more money, I saw my children less, right? And I traveled less. And I slept poorly, and my back hurt, ironically, from working all day. So anyway, I love that slide. So our program, I want to go over the program quickly because I know a lot of you don't know too much about it, but we have 4 components. We have a health coach, we have the habits of health system, I'm going to break them down, our community, and then we have our fuelings. I'm going to go over this real quick just so you can understand it, but every client that goes on our program gets a health coach. That's a caring, knowledgeable person that's one-on-one. We can breach the idea of how I did it in my practice, and I have a couple of ideas for you. Healthy lifestyle program, right? That's what the health coach is working with them, guiding them towards the healthy habits and encouraging them. Why is that important? Well, how well are people doing on their own, right? Doing Nutrisystem and Jenny Craig and all that stuff with no accountability, not learning anything. Here's why diets don't work. Because the goal of a diet is weight loss, right? There's no need to learn anything. So what I tell people is diets work, right? They work amazing at helping you lose weight and gain it back. That's what a diet does. So if you don't have support and you don't learn, and chiropractors understand this, because if you just treat back pain, right? How do you expect someone to utilize chiropractic for anything other than back pain? So if you're a principled chiropractor, I'm not judging how anybody practices, but if you're to teach somebody the value of chiropractic and then support them and guide them, they'll be patients for life because they'll see a value in it. So the health coach is the cornerstone of this. So the habits of health system is really important. This is the learning part. So every patient, every client that would go on the program, even if they were quick fix diet minded in the beginning, they would also get a curriculum. And this curriculum is called the Habits of Health, which I love. It's perfect because all we're ever trying to do is teach people healthy habits, because the habits of disease bring them into the clinic, right? So it's Dr. A's Habits of Health, and when they're ready, we meet them on their ground. They start to learn things. First, they learn about weight loss, nutrition, but then they start to learn about motivation and what matters most, and drive, sleep, exercise. Amazing. So a successful client is not one that goes from fat to thin. It's one that loses weight but creates a desire and gets excited about health and moves on to what we call ultra health. Never ends. So small, consistent changes is what we speak to our patients, our clients about, which is what I used to talk about when people were coming in for multiple visits. Takes time. So it was so simple. All the curriculum was right there. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about nutrition that I didn't. I got a side degree in nutrition when I went to chiropractic school. By the way, I didn't even mention this. I went to Life University in Atlanta, which is a real principled school. And I graduated in, 1998. So I guess I'm officially getting older now. I don't know. But sustainable results for life. So we teach people that weight loss is the step, even though it's the one that they want, it's the step towards something else, and that is creating health. Very, very simple and congruent with what we do as chiropractors. So this is real cool. There's the books that the patients get, and they don't always open it up in the beginning. Just like they don't always come to your lecture in the beginning and don't always want to learn about B.J. Palmer and D.D. Palmer and things. But when they start getting excited about health, they'll crack the book open. And you'll have the opportunity, or whoever's in your office working with them, to do that. And they start to learn some things. So we always look at this little step ladder here. And they start off, first step is they prepare for their journey. They get to this, they reach a healthy weight. So that may be the equivalent of a patient getting out of pain. Then we teach them the transition, right? When they've lost their weight, we transition them to the next phase, the corrective phase, which is the habits of health, when they start to learn. And then we teach them about optimizing their health for their age. You'll notice that our program is all about what they want. We never tell people what to do. And that was a problem I had in practice, is I always told people what to do. Well, here's what you need to do. You should do this. Well, you better do this, right? So what I learned with Take Shape for Life is I started sitting down with my patients, whether it was just chiropractic or this, and say, well, tell me something. What do you want, right? Whoa, what a huge breakthrough that was, because they would just take a deep breath and say, oh my God, thank you. Well, here's what I want. And then I would say, well, why? Why is that important to you? And it was so easy after I took the time and waited for it and heard them to say, well, here's what I think might be right for you. What do you think? And it was just beautiful. Love it. So the third component is community. A lot of times people are in a bad social environment, which is breeding unhealthy habits. So community is huge. That's why what I noticed is that the patients in my practice that thrived the most were the ones that were most engaged. They would come to all my events and we'd have these parties and stuff. They were our favorite patients. But all these people out there that are eating poorly, they typically are surrounded by people that are like that. Like attracts like. So we plug people into this, what we call our community of optimal health, whether it be online, on Zooms like this. Every Thursday night, we have an amazing Zoom, and we invite all of our clients and our patients. Other people run it, and they hear stories of inspiration on Facebook groups and stuff. When somebody falls down, like 50 people come and pick them back up. So important. There's support calls, Habits of Health video calls. The company takes care of like 95% of everything that the patient needs, right? So I like to say that when I was in full-time practice, and for those of you that are chiropractors, I was seeing quite a bit of patients. You know, I mean, I had negative free time in my life, and as a father, negative free time, right? So it was really, really nice to see that all I had to do was kind of become a dentist. And this is I hope there's no dentists on here because they'll get upset. But when you go to a dentist office, dentist kind of just comes in and says, "How are you?" And then he leaves, but the hygienist does all the work. So I had a couple of hygienists, right? Not hygienists, but my staff doing most of the coaching, and I was just overseeing it. That's how it worked for me. But to tell you the truth, I started enjoying this a little bit more than breaking my back over, 80 patients a day. So I started to do this more and more, and that led me to where I am today. So the fuelings, this is important. We're very, very big on finding out what people want. So we have amazing fuelings, but there's a variety of them. So I want to make sure I hit on this. So they're simple. They've got to be easy. And by the way, all of the fuelings, not in my office. Clients go on the program. They sign up with the program from the company. Everything is between them and the company. We're just hired to support them. That's all our office does. There's no boxes of stuff or anything like that in my office. It's just a service, not sales. So the fuelings are simple. They're super health foods. We have a huge array of them. By going on the program, and I'll go over that briefly, they help burn fat, protect lean muscle, scientifically proven, which is really important to me. Because I remember I first learned about that. I went to say why they weren't going to work, because I used to say no to everything. Nutrition at every stage of the journey, and we have options. So once again, we start people where they are. So we don't say, "Oh, you want to lose weight? Go here." We say, "Okay, I understand you want to lose weight. Why?" And we can ask them a question. Well, tell me something. How do you typically eat? Because one of the barriers that we have when we tell someone to eat Atlantic salmon and kale, right, and meditate and have like a greens drink, that's a very small amount of people that are motivated to do that. Right? Most people want something that tastes good. So if you have somebody that is like a Dorito eater and doesn't shop in the organic food aisle, and you tell them to go shop in the organic food aisle, that person, you just set them up for failure. So what's cool about our program is we can say, "Tell me, are you the kind of person that shops for premium ingredients, non-GMO, probiotics?" We say those words. And very often, people that are struggling with their weight are very adamant on what they put in their body. So we have a program for those people. But we also have a program that carries, a different profile for people. That is for the people that are a little bit concerned with money, for instance. They don't pay extra money for premium ingredients. So my point is that we have a program for everybody. We don't have a one-size-fits-all. And here's something that's important. We're not weight loss coaches. People go on the program that don't need to lose weight. They just need to balance their nutrition. Very chiropractic friendly. Because very often, does skinny mean healthy? Not all the time. I know skinny people that eat garbage all day. So I have a lot of people that go on a different program we have, so we have something for everybody, just to improve their health. So here's how simple it is. Getting started on the program for our patients is as simple as whether or not they can eat every 3 hours. Can they drink water? Everybody says yes to these things. Do you want the support of someone that cares? Support, one of the components. And do you want to be healthy? You'll notice that we don't say, do you want to be thin, right? Do you want to be healthy? Because that's the bigness of it. So just quickly, the program, and then we'll open up for questions. The program we put people on is called the Optimal Weight 5-in-1. Now, this is the program we put people on that are looking to lose weight. You'll notice that they're eating 6 times a day. There's 5 what we call healthy fuelings. Remember, there's a different wide range profile that they can choose from, probably close to about 100 things they can choose from. So they're eating 5 healthy fuelings a day and 1 what's called lean and green. Now, the lean and green, for those of you that are into paleo and things like that, That's the way I eat right now, which I learned from this program. It's just a protein source in vegetables, which is a really, really fun meal, and they're going to learn how to love that meal. But the reason why we have them eat 6 times a day is because if you eat 6 times a day, small meals with the goof-proofness of the fuelings is you don't have to think about calories, and you have the perfect macronutrient footprint. But by eating every 3 hours, they're curving they're regulating their blood sugar, and they're never getting a dip in blood sugar, which makes them go for General Tso's chicken, right? Most Americans eat 2-3 times a day. On this program, their calorie is not restricted, but our calories go down to where we can put them in fat burn, where they're eating fat off their body. Their energy goes up. And what I can tell you is on this program, people report, I mean, after the first week, the scale moves and they're excited. But they're even more excited about the fact that even a week or 2 in, and Jeralyn can talk about medications, that's not my realm, but I know that my patients report getting off a ton of medications, which I love, but they also report their energy goes up, right? Their vitality goes up. They sleep better. Now, as a chiropractor, those are the things that I want to hear. I don't want to just say, how's your back? I want them to say, I'm healthier, I'm feeling better. So once again, very synonymous. And the program, folks, I'll say results not typical, and we got a little disclaimer on the bottom, just to be safe, right? But I lost 11 pounds my first week. I lost 22 pounds my first month, and I lost 70 pounds in 4 months. So that was miraculous. Changed my whole life, gave me mental clarity, it gave me the vision to see what was causing the problem. So the 5-in-1, very, very powerful. And all you got to do is do it. I like to tell my patients that this program works 100% of the time if you do it. If you do it. That's how effective it is. So now what happens is we transition them off, and then we transition them keeping structure to what's called the 3-in-3. I've been doing this for 9 years, and that's how I've kept my weight off. Basically, we're going to have them eat 3 healthy fuelings, right? And there's such a wide variety. People start to upgrade the quality of what they eat. They'll either have healthy fuelings or they'll have healthy snacks, and there's so many different choices. Now they're excited about health, right? And then they're also going to eat 3 lean and greens. Still staying to 5-6 meals a day, regulating the blood sugar. That's the habit of health they learned, but totally upgrading the quality of what they're eating. So the person that didn't shop organic, now they are. Now they're starting to talk about the gym, and now they're starting to talk about healthcare, right? Now they're starting, not health scare, right? They're talking about healthcare, coming in for regular visits. You know, this is when I started to see people really, really get it. And by the way, don't worry about, you know, I know chiropractors might be saying, well, if I get everybody healthy, they're going to stop coming in my office because their back pain is going to go away. Don't worry about it. First of all, you'll make more money doing this than you did as a chiropractor. You'll see more people, and they'll love you even more, and they'll tell all their friends. You're going to get so many referrals when you start to get like visible, measurable changes. So just quickly at the end, I want to talk about this. What does an abundant life mean to you? Because this is a part, and I know Jeralyn can speak on this too. We have a tendency to get into service mode, and when we're in school, we don't really know about the business of healthcare and chiropractic, and it's tough, right? It's not structured to work in our favor or the patient's favor. It's structured to work into the favor of the system. So we get locked up in service, and we start to forget about what we really want. And we all get in this mode, when my practice gets to this level, when I make this much money, then I'll take a break. But I'm afraid to take a break because so forget about all that. Pretend you don't have to worry about all that. If there were no rules, what does it mean to live an abundant life? For me, coach football, be at all the hockey games, go visit my father. My father's here right now, and he's leaving, but my father lives in France. I go visit him 4 or 5 times a year. And, you know, those are the things that I was afraid to do before. You know, send your kids to schools that you want to send them to. Have the freedom to actually live your life. Before, I never knew it, but I was working 90% of my life. 90%. For what? You know? So getting started, I just made this and then I'll be done. These are just for chiropractors. So if you're a chiropractor and you're listening to this, obviously, you know, get with the person that invited you here, speak to them, but purchase your kit. You know, here's a little funny fact. I spent about $250,000 to become a chiropractor. Yeah, about that. And it cost me under $200 to become a health coach. And, you know, like I said, I make a lot more money doing this than I did as a chiropractor. I see more people and help more people in a month than I used to in a month as a chiropractor. And another thing is, think about
something Andy sent me.
When you're making money, right? When I make $1 in chiropractic, I keep about 40 cents because of my overhead. But there's no overhead in this. So that's real nice. Purchase your health coach kit. Try the program. Now remember, if you need to lose weight, 5 pounds or more, try it. Get on the program. Because, you know, look, there's no reason you'd ever tell someone to do something like get an adjustment without doing it. But even if you don't need to lose weight, try the different program. Just try the program and see how amazing it feels to balance your nutrition. Tap into these are some facts I just want to give people about building it. Tap into your support system and avoid extra work. I told you I had negative free time. So there was no way, if I had to do stuff, there was no way I could have done this. So I met these great people that came in my office and they did the talks for me. In the beginning, they coached my clients with me until my staff learned. It was effortless. It was effortless because once I started making $3,000 a month doing this, $4,000, and it started to go up way back when, you know, I started to say, wait a second. You know, I pay my front desk girl $12, $13 an hour, and she would love to make an extra 4 hours pay, and I would start to hire people in my office to kind of run this, and it grew real fast. Remember, the results are visible. I'm sure we'll get some questions on that. Get staff on board and congruent. Folks, Jeralyn knows this. Medical practices, chiropractic, hospitals, of course patients are not listening to what we say. I mean, look at our staff. Look at our staff. Look at the doctors. I mean, you know, I was guilty of it as well. We're not practicing what we preach. Get your staff in line and get them understanding the mission of what this is and get people on the program. I put a couple of my staff, I offered it to them, and they were real excited on the program, and boom, they changed. Their lives, you know, completely blew up, and all the patients wanted to come on the program. That's huge. That's huge. If you're not congruent with your offering in your practice, come on. You know, integrate into your table talk. Here's a good one. Chiropractors, medical doctors can probably get something from this too. But table talk means when you go in your office and you're going to give your adjustment, however long or short it is, I would assume you're not just like not talking to the person, right? You're talking, we call it table talk, about how their day was, but you're also talking about what you're doing. You're talking about how they're doing on program, with your care. So integrate this into your table talk, right? We're all talking about weight loss and nutrition, but we don't have something to push them to, right? So I started asking my patients, I'd say, do you feel comfortable talking about your weight, right? And I'm a doctor, so they'd say, yeah. And then I would say, well, you know, have you ever tried something? Because that would really help us with what we're trying to do right now. And they loved it, right? And I said, well, we got a program. Look at Jimmy out there, you know? Look at me. Look at the pictures that I have on the wall. And everybody was psyched. They would come to the talk that we would do or whatever. So host talks. I don't know. Not everybody likes to do talks. Obviously, I do. But you probably have somebody that will do the talks for you. You can play videos in your office, but you got to have the opportunity to direct someone to learn something and get some questions answered. I know some doctors will have somebody that comes in once or twice a week and sits down and offers free consults. People need to be directed towards something where they can learn more, and it can't be a website. Because websites are like confusing, and some people don't even know how to use them. And when you go to a website, you're only going to see what you see. People like to talk and ask questions, so that's huge. I used to have talks every 2 weeks in my practice, and they were huge. We had to move them into a hotel eventually. Start talking about weight loss and getting referrals, it gets big. And then finally, decide what you want to do with this new reality. I know that might sound crazy, but the first time I was told what kind of money I can make and stuff, I said, whatever. You know, I paid $250,000 to become a doctor, and I'm busting my butt here. Don't tell me. You know, I know. Right? I knew everything. Folks, you know, I never knew how to leverage my time and live my life around what matters most. And, you know, my mission is the same as it was when I was a chiropractor. I wanted to help people achieve a better level of health. The whole premise that I was trying to achieve as a chiropractor is restore function via removing stress from their body, giving people a better chance at handling the adversities of life. That's what health means. Health is measured by how you handle stress. Stress doesn't go away. You don't not get sick, but how you handle it is how I measure health. And physically, that changed my life. Mentally, it changed my life. But also financially, it did too. My new reality is I work from home. I mean, I'm sitting here at night, but this is where I've been all day. I go into my practice. I travel a little bit. I take care of some really special patients, some rock bands and some VIP people, because I love chiropractic. I do mission work, but I no longer go into the office and hustle. Not because I don't want to do that anymore. It's because I want to hang out with my kids, and I want to enjoy life, and I want to spend time with my family. So that's it. So I don't know if we want to open up for questions, and if not, people don't have questions, I'm sure, Jeralyn, you have some things you can probably derive, but I'll stop sharing.
No, thank you so much, JC. And Robert's going to unmute everybody so that we can hear each other if someone does have questions. Thank you for sharing, because there's parts of that story, as many times as I've heard you share your story, I haven't heard parts of that. So that's really helpful.
I haven't heard parts of it either.
Oh, good. Then you did really well, because it was very authentic. I love it.
Does anybody have a question as it pertains to putting Take Shape for Life in the office, or I love skeptical things, and I love challenges and stuff like that, because I was the most, I was a pain in the butt when I was first told about this. Does anybody have a question? Or I guess you'd have to unmute yourself.
I think everyone's unmuted. If you've muted yourself, you might still be on, but Robert's unmuted you, so you can ask a question. We've got people from across the country on this call, which actually, that's another advantage you didn't mention. We've really, you and our families have built teams of coaches that work in every state, kind of across the country, which is pretty fun.
Yep. And that's a great point. That's why I did humanitarian work, because I wanted to help more people. But I mean, my clients, Scott, I have clients all over the country. I have clients that I've never physically met, but I've met them in this format and on the phone. And I never could do that because I always had to physically be there with them as a chiropractor.
Right. Right.
Any questions?
Feel free to ask.
So everybody just knows everything. Nobody. I did that good of a job that there's no questions at all. I'm happy.
You did a great job.
Go ahead.
Did you have any resistance with your staff?
I mean, we get resistance everywhere we go. Resistance comes from concepts, right? The first resistance you get from your staff is like, what now? What, right? Because I mean, my staff was working, but I mean. I was a good boss, and I was very, very nice to my staff and made them laugh and things like that. But I would say my staff saw what happened. They saw me, they saw the patients, and I got to tell you something. That was about the most exciting stuff that was happening in my practice. I mean, patients were coming in and running down the hallways, jumping up and down, high-fiving people. I remember I'd be in there adjusting, and they would be working, and we would hear about all this excitement, and we just kept on wanting to go. So there's always resistance because of concepts, but I think I would probably use examples of other offices that maybe had resistance, but that's why it's important to try the program. When you see and feel what happens with this program, it's the same thing with chiropractic. I mean, I would assume not everybody on this Zoom has been adjusted, right? Maybe you're afraid of it or something. We're always afraid and resist things that we don't know. But then all of a sudden, if you have an experience and it gives you value, you're the town crier about it. So, weight loss and health and nutrition, it's visible, it's measurable. So it's pretty easy, to explain it to people. So no resistance from staff typically, especially when you're paying them extra money because you're making all this extra money.
Right.
That's all you have to do to make staff happy, right? And that's another thing. Doctors are frightened to death about that day that the staff says, I want a raise, right? Oh, we hate that. Didn't I just give you a raise last week, right? So with this, that wasn't a problem anymore because I built incentives into this. Some of my staff became health coaches. And I can't remember the last time I had to give a raise.
Right. Thank you.
Anybody else?
JC, could you go into just a little bit more about what that meant when you say some of your staff became health coaches and how that benefited them as well? And I'll bet even some of your patients have become health coaches.
That's a good point. And that was a very scary idea for me when I started this. I was not a businessman. I was a servant, you know. And it started off, actually my staff, I had a staff member named Lori who went on the program, and she did well. And, you know, she became a coach because I started to see her being a great coach. And I didn't, you know, what happens is, you know, careful what you ask for, you just might get it. This thing grows really, really fast because it's visible. So you start having to recruit help, right? That's when I got it. That's when I got the idea that I needed health coaches. It wasn't about building this monster of a business because I still didn't believe that was possible. It was really just a service thing. And so, yeah, I started to entertain the idea, and I would speak to them. And, yeah, I would love to, you know, so that was easy. And, you know, it's interesting you said that about patients. Like, I never in my life ever thought that I would ever look at a patient, talk to them about helping them make money. That's not what I do. I'm a chiropractor, right? I don't even know how to do that. You know, I mean, I was frightened to death of it until I started to see over and over again that the reason why they were struggling in life so much is because they either didn't have a job or hated their job, right? Or, you know, upstream, their life was a mess. So I loved the idea that all of a sudden I could actually, because chiropractors take care of the cause of disease. That's what we do. But I started taking care of the cause of disease. And I mean, look, I know that there's a lot of concepts about that, but when you see somebody not only lose weight, not only get healthy, but completely free themselves, there's no greater feeling in the world. If you think it's fun to get healthy and make money and create freedom for yourself, nothing compared to what it feels like to do it for someone else. So it took me some time to be okay with that. Usually what I would do is refer people to my coach because that's what he did. But I started to just become, I don't know, I just started to like feel like I was giving presents to everybody now. And I mean, I can't even count how many patients ended up becoming coaches. But here's what I'll tell you. I didn't build my whole business from my patients. I didn't. I built it from my family and my friends and people I knew all over because I was actually afraid to tell my patients about it in the beginning because I didn't want to be looked at as a businessman. It was a concept I had. So it wasn't until later on, and I built this business really fast. And, you know, I mean, it was exciting, but my first two clients were my mom and my dad, you know, and I pretty much forced them to go on it as guinea pigs, you know. But it was amazing. And, you know, that's, once again, I'll keep reverting back. It's so important to try the program because the idea makes sense. And if you look at the science and the fact that we have something for everybody, you'll like it all. But what you don't know is that it's like almost magical how you feel when you go on this program. So that's the easiest way to bridge that gap.
Thank you.
You know, you and I have talked before, but you know, I was really skeptical. I was looking desperately for something solid that would have predictable results for my patients. And I thought this might be it, but I really took my time examining the science before I put my first patients on it. So about 2 months after I got my kit and studied it for about 2 months, I put a patient on it. And like you said, quickly, like within that next 3 weeks, I had about 21 patients go on program. It's almost one a day in my office. And within that first month from that time, I was seeing, like, I was blown away because I had been a committed, caring doctor trying to do healthcare without a good system. And so I think one of the things that's been so overwhelming to me is I wasn't a believer at first either, except that I had been convinced that the science made sense, that the way that this footprint of these little fuelings puts the right amount of nutrition in people's bodies every 3 hours. Like, I saw that and I could figure out scientifically that like cured all the hormonal causes of obesity and all these other things. So that was exciting. But I caught the fire after I saw my patients fully start, like I had not had patients get off of all medications, get to a normal weight and sustain that. And so as that started to come to fruition, I just was all in, because there's nothing else that I've seen that like let people use that as a stepping stone to have what they wanted in all areas of their life with their health, especially.
You know, what's interesting that you just brought to my mind is it's very important that health professionals start working together, right? And chiropractors know this, and there's certain medical doctors, they might have a relationship or referral relationship or whatever. But here's another thing that happened. This was really interesting. What happens when people lose weight and balance nutrition is they start to become over-medicated, the ones that are on medications. So I didn't know how to handle that. I remember patients would be like, "Oh my God, I'm dizzy," and I'd be like, and then I found out it's because they're over-medicated, right? So it forced me to say, "Man, I better call the doctors." And I started to create these relationships based on the results, because doctors started to get these visits. Their patients coming in to get their meds reduced, their diabetes meds, their statins, and all that stuff. And what happened next was these medical doctors would be like, "What the heck are you doing? Like, what are you doing over there?" And I started having lunches and making new friends. And it's really cool when you kind of don't have a barrier. When two people just want the same thing, it's wonderful. You know, just like Jeralyn and I, we come from two different, styles and backgrounds of health profession, but we both together, just like we're doing tonight, if we come together, it's for the greater good. And people win because of that. And that's a problem. That's one of the problems with healthcare. So everybody's a specialist, right? I think we all need to come together and specialize in helping people get healthy rather than treating disease, because that's not working anymore. And the insurance programs and healthcare system, it ain't working. It ain't working. And people know that. There's never been a more important, this is what Dr. Anderson knows, it's called the next era of medicine, is where we actually go upstream and treat the cause, right? And we help people create health so they don't have to rely on this broken system. So, I mean, everywhere, here's the only thing I'll say. I'll close on this. I never had any idea that all this was going to happen. It started off where I said, "Hey, I got a lot of patients and friends and family that need this," right? And it's amazing. People are on meds and all that stuff. So it was just same thing, reason I did humanitarian work. I just paid it forward, right? But what I didn't know is that how many of them were going to succeed, and then I was going to meet their friends and then have to build a business, structure it. So I was kind of organically pushed into this business that has grown into a business that, is a multi-million-dollar business, and I never expected that. And the best part about that is not the money, and it's not the freedom. It's how you feel at night when you go to sleep. And you realize that your passion and your paycheck have been connected, and you do things based on them being the things that matter most to you, and you no longer do things because you have to. I don't go into my practice because I have to. I go in because I want to. And that is a wonderful feeling, because that's not the way it used to be.
JC, thank you so very much. I'm going to ask one more time, just in case there's anybody with a pressing question. Is there anyone that would like to ask a question before we close? I'm really grateful for everybody's time. JC, thank you for sharing your story and your passion for people. One of my favorite times at conference, when JC and I were, we actually spoke a little bit from stage, but then the president of our company got up and said, "We're all about P&L, which all of us think of as profit and loss in a business." And what she said was, "We're about people and love." And if you want to get together with a community of people that are about unity and collaboration and helping people get what they want, I just would invite you to get back with however you received an invitation tonight. Any one of us, you can find me on Facebook, and I'll connect you with the person that invited you. But so thankful for everybody's time, and thank you, each one of you on the call, for the love and the caring that you're giving to the people in your sphere. And we would love to have you join us, because there's more people that need we all need more effective methods to help people. So thank you for being with us. Thanks, JC. Have a great night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Okay. Good night.